Today's presentation will cover what 750 is and why almost everyone who finds out what it's really all about then really wants nothing to do with it. That's why a lot of us just say, 750 is like drugs. Just say no. Some of us have already been saying no, with the leader in that effort, the American Coalition for Property Rights, which was started in Indian River County by Phyllis Fry, a retired airline pilot. Her group was very successful very quickly in that county. The Indian River County Commission opted out of 750 in December of 2012, followed in the spring of 2013 by the city of Vero Beach. 750 is a final product of some $4+ million in planning so far. 750 is a federal initiative utilizing funding from HUD, Housing and Urban Development, the DOT or Department of Transportation, and the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. These regional plans are the base or local level of the implementation of what is commonly called Agenda 21. Agenda 21 originated and was adopted by the United Nations for implementation worldwide in 1992. President George H.W. Bush penned his name on our behalf to that original agreement. For those unaware, Agenda 21 calls for global taxation, social equity, redistribution of the wealth, sustainable environment, and one world government, amongst other things. Knowing this and further realizing that these are not conspiracy theories is critical to your understanding of what is actually happening right now in our own backyard. To really understand 750, which is just one of the 11 future regions delineated for us, that is all of us in the United States of America, to live within, you must first be familiar with terms like global warming, smart growth, sustainability, biodiversity, the Wildlands Project, and social equity analysis. You'll find the following video very informative.
Sustainable development has become the popularized expression for Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is the 1992 United Nations Rio Declaration on the Environment and Development.
It is the agenda for the 21st century you're living in today. For a brave new world where everything that you cherished and held true will no longer exist.
Agenda 21 defines itself as a comprehensive plan of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally by organizations of the United Nations systems.
It also elevates nature above man. And it contains something called the precautionary principle, where basically you're guilty until you're proven innocent.
Sustainable development is the philosophy designed to bring human beings across the globe under the full control of a narrow human elite.
It's a 40-chapter document to basically control the world. It's based entirely on socialist control mechanisms.
Sustainable developers have designed a global movement coordinated through a global to local action plan to create world government in accordance with certain objectives. These objectives include an end to national sovereignty, the abolition of private property, the restructure of the family unit, and increasing limitations and restrictions on mobility and individual opportunity.
The Green Goal includes the listings of what's not sustainable. A couple of the examples include private property.
728 lists fossil fuels.
Golf courses and ski lodges are not.
Consumerism.
Irrigation is not sustainable.
Paved roads.
Commercial agriculture.
Herbicides, pesticides. Elsewhere, it lists farmlands, pastures, grazing of livestock,
and the family unit. The focus of sustainable development is the abolition of private property, societal undermining of the family, and abandonment of the constitutional protection of unalienable rights as described in the Declaration of Independence.
You see, I sat on the Santa Cruz Agenda 21 committees. Now, this was a lot of crazy ideas. This was back in the mid-90s. Crazy ideas I heard. Mother Earth's surface wasn't to be scratched. Human beings were to be concentrated into human settlement zones. Educational systems were to focus on the environment as the central organizing principle. All aspects of life were covered. Well, I went to these committees to request some people who told me that I needed to understand what was going on, and I came back and I said, this is craziness. This is so silly. It has no chance of having any effect on our society. Well, I was wrong. The United States government's support for sustainable development, Agenda 21, is very clear. In 1992, while the Rio conference was going on, George Bush, then president, was there where he executed the Agenda 21 protocols on behalf of the United States and brought it back to Washington, D.C. Within a year, Bill Clinton, by executive order, no congressional review, established the President's Council for Sustainable Development. In Santa Cruz, we've got a 2-lane freeway system. We need 4, but what we're getting is hundreds of millions of dollars of federal money to take a dilapidated rail line that Southern Pacific wants to put in the hands of somebody else so that a commuter line can be built along the railroad track. That'll be followed by 14-story buildings where people will live in stack and pack units, where developers or so-called sustainable developers will build these high rises with federal dollars. In fact, Santa Cruz has received a $300 million federal grant to build the first 3,000 of these stack and pack units. The County Board of Supervisors said, if you are a sustainable developer, you're immune from any construction defect liability. It's a partnership between selected developers building this new world order and the government using the American taxpayer dollars in order to do it. This is a map of the Wildlands Project. To explain the map, the red are areas that are to be off limits to human beings. No resource development, no human activity. If you live there, you won't. The yellow areas are the areas for major control of all human activity. If you live there, you won't. The black areas, the black dots, are the smart growth zones. That's where human beings are to be stacked and packed in small living units along rail tracks. The Smart Growth Program ultimately has jobs assigned and children cared for by the state.
The question has been asked many times how people who are perpetrating these things expect to do this and make it last. The answer to that is that you steal a generation of children and you indoctrinate them so that they accept these ideas and they become global citizens in becoming global village.
UNESCO came out and declared 2005 to 2015 the decade of education for sustainable development. But they go on to say that it will encompass the 40 chapters of Agenda 21. That is your federal national curriculum.
There is absolutely nothing American about Agenda 21 nor its local manifestation 750. As you learn even more about 750 today, you will find out how our representative form of government will be taken away, along with our property rights, our freedoms, and even our culture. Yes, the new green really is red. Here is the 2050 map of America showing all 11 regions designated for human habitation. 750 is the region depicted in the southeastern section of Florida, and we are in it. The next slides will show the Wildlands Project as it has evolved over the past 10 years. The Idaho Observer, a monthly publication, had this to say about the Wildlands. Quote, While this effort has a noble mission, the implications are staggering. As noted in the June 25, 1993 issue of Science, it is nothing less than the transformation of America to an archipelago of human inhabited islands surrounded by natural areas. The quote continues, "It would mean the nationalization of private land through regulation or other means, forcing people to move to areas zoned for occupation and shutting down half the agriculture, forest products, and mining industries. Scarce resources means the rest of us paying double and triple for products made from these resources." End quote. It is the overlay with the Wildlands Project maps and the regional habitation maps which outline our future here as a member of one of the 3 counties above the already economically developed counties of Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade. This is the latest Wildlands map. You will notice the southeast section of the country is no longer blue, having been colored red and yellow to designate the areas for the animals. You may also notice in Florida, the black dots representing heavy population concentrations are no longer prominent. The exceptions are smaller dots in the areas south of us and the 1 dot remaining in the Tampa area. In our case, that is St. Lucie, Indian River, and Martin counties, we're colored light green now, which stands for normal use. This is very significant, and it will make it very clear why so much ado has been made about Indian River County opting out and the rumblings that St. Lucie may be next. It goes without saying, there will likely be crowded conditions in the 11 different human regions around the country. We will certainly be no exception. There will be a lot of stacking and packing, as each region is required to accommodate all the people who will be moved out of the wildlands areas. It's no wonder the 750 people have referred to it as Manhattanized. Since, by the 750 document's admission, there is little in common with the 3 northern counties and the 3 southern counties here in Florida, it would seem to make little sense they would find our opting out so important. Until you make that correlation between the black dots on the early map and the light green areas within the later maps, we must be designated then for the stack and pack. We will become the critical bedroom community for population which has moved into our population region. There will be room for little else if we are to become the reservation for an untold number of refugees with no other place to live.
And fascism, you can say what you like, but it's efficient. And fascism, you can say what you like, but it's efficient. Okay, you've heard of globalization. In globalization, what is falling out is the nations. The nations are less important. What are falling out are the cities, except unless you're a very large city, the cities become unimportant. What is effective are the regions. EPA, HUD, DOT, they got together. The 3 of them got together. These are the people who paid for our... The idea that you actually secede from this plan instead of affecting those agencies is not the way to change the world. They'll crush you. And then there's bottom-up government, in which everybody gets to come up and talk forever about anything. Subsidiarity says we design who makes what decision and when. And the principle is the smallest party that can competently make it Let's decide as little as possible now and download to others later that which action, because they'll be more competent to do it. So this is what we did. And so on an emergency basis, we're passing something called the Code Pink. And this is beyond, we're going to have pre-permitted forms, we're going to have, there's a whole series of analogies which I think are a multiplication of something like the free zone. City, the county, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, 750, and then Florida, the United States, and the United Nations. Okay, all the way up. Okay, Miami and Havana, they're twin cities, they're transparent. Why would you start a business in South Florida when you could get at least as good a climate in Cuba? I would say that this region, if you would like to secede to Orlando, fine, you'll become progressively rustic. If the Dade County people want to become an extension of Latin America, if you would like to become an extension of Virginia up here, fine, but it'd be nice to have both. It's a distortion field. Okay. All of you can secede all you want to Orlando, which seems friendlier, but they haven't got anything going in Orlando except possibly good government. Subsidiarity also determines that the lowest level at which some decisions are made are actually the state, and not the neighbor. And of course, the Germans have arrived, the French have arrived. You know, they're reforming the educational system from top to bottom. They're not going to put up with American education. No way that we're going to avoid building the compact cities that the 21st century needs. There is no way we can dodge the bullet that the cars are going out, that the automobile dependency is going out. We can't dodge it in the long run. And what I would urge you to do is that whatever we do here, and partially it's through to us, whatever we do here, that it be done fast. Here about the mega regions that are in formation, okay? These mega regions, any one of these can throw an election in Washington, any one of them. When you can throw an election, they'll pick up your phone at the State Department. You know, we don't need to have more public meetings like this. We should just finish the thing, and you should pass it. Okay, that's what should happen. Okay, you should just trust us and pass it. To be effective, this plan has to transcend the local and transcend the temporal. And fascism, you can say what you like, but it's efficient. You know, we don't need to have more public meetings like this. We should just finish the thing, and you should pass it. Okay, that's what should happen. Okay, you should just trust us and pass it. And fascism, you can say what you like, but it's efficient.
You know, in the last 4 or 5 years, we've heard an awful lot about the transformation of America. And now it's becoming quite evident, and we can see just what this transformation may have really meant. Some of us have been in this fight for a while now, because we think and we thought, these really are crazy ideas. Our commissioners won't do this, but now we're not so sure. The American Coalition for Property Rights people go to the commission meetings week after week after week. And only one commissioner after all this time has had anything whatsoever to say about this in a public meeting. And that was Commissioner Zadofsky, and he was in support of 750. None of the others have said a word publicly. None of the others has expressed any concern publicly. None have ever answered a letter sent in July simply requesting where they think they might stand on this issue. We need your help now. Your voluntary commitment of time and/or money has become critical. The board absolutely must opt out of this before they can no longer do so without great monetary penalty, or worse yet, without relegating all of us to the socialistic stack and pack of 750 and Agenda 21. This presentation will close now with the heartfelt plea of a Fort Pierce resident named Mary Burton that she gave to the board earlier this month when she urged them to abandon this project. I want to thank you for your time, your attention, and your willingness to learn about this issue. Please, help us save St. Lucie County from the 750 Plan.
When did we give permission for you to give away our sovereignty to an unknown entity? We elected you to be our guardians, to guard our land, our water, our communities. At no point in time did we say it was okay for you to give that authority to someone else. We are here, and we will be here every meeting to ask you to remember that we are sovereign. We do not give you permission to turn us into serfs and to turn us over to another authority. You have no right to give away our boundaries. You have no right to turn us into a region which we do not accept as a free people.